Hello, British storytellers! Welcome to Britistoríes, and it is that jolly old time of chestnut roasting, giving gifts, snow, and of course, spending quality time with friends and family. Unless they're abusive.
Christmas. Such a beautiful holiday for Christianity who celebrates the power of generosity and kindness for the birthday of Jesus Christ. Of course I love Christmas, but since that sounds too much of a broad term, I like to say I love traditional Christmas.
Near the 1920 eras, with Christmas carolers singing towards donations, sending Christmas letters to Santa Claus and loved ones at the post office, while walking in a beautiful snowy village with cobblestone sidewalks and horse-drawn carriages, and happy warm villager faces everywhere you go, while afterwards, warming up by the fireplace and blankets with a teddy bear and a cup of homemade hot cocoa made out of dark chocolate and mint, since if you don't know, I like dark chocolate better than milk chocolate, plus it's healthier, while snoozing out to lovely Christmas classics, waiting for Santa Claus to come to town.
Don't I miss the simpler times of the holidays? I am even dreaming of creating my own Christmas Broadway musical called The North Pole Village, based off my own Christmas Wonderland with some elements inspired by Peter Pan. This story is about an average African-American teenage girl named Dominique, my middle name, who has grown tired of the holidays and her family's boring traditions and being called bitter and cold by them, until one day a young, immortally teenage boy named Nicholas takes her away to explore this dreamland where every day feels like Christmas, called the North Pole Village. In there, Dominique and Nicholas will journey through this wonderland, meeting new friends along the way, and enduring some spectacular musical moments with joyful and heartwarming moments, while discovering some tragic mysteries and secrets on both the locales and this magical village. I've been playing this project for 2 years, and so far all of the characters, not including the ensemble roles, consist of Dominique, Nicholas, the angel twins who are Holly and Hollis, the quiet messenger boy, Edward, the stunning piano player, Maria the ballerina, Chef Carol, Queen Gibiana, Mom, and Cuvia. Cuvia is a special new character I added for this year, as she is a chubby little girl who is a representation of a dark-skinned native Inuit of the North Pole Village, who loves ice fishing and building igloos. She only knows how to speak in an Inuit language that will not be translated on stage or on paper, just in case if I turn this into a book, as Cuvia and her family are in charge of the wondrous Northern Lights with the glass igloo they built to keep their guests warm.
The Inuits' Northern Lights and glass igloos at night are only accessible to anyone who shows them kindness, as a universal quality understood by all without slightly a single word. Can you guess what the inspiration is? Or should I say, who?
Hey!
Yep, I finally got to see Klaus, and I am in love with it. I can completely confirm with all my heart that Klaus is one of my favorite Christmas movies of all time. It got everything I love about Christmas, plus more, from its unique art style, traditional candlelit village setting, how it balances comedic and emotionally heartwarming moments, and beautiful subtle messages such as its main one, a true selfless act always sparks another.
Is it just me, or right now I just realized I've never done a full review on an episode, show, or movie before? I mean, sure, I analyze certain scenes, characters, and relationships, but no, I'm talking about a review of a full-on movie or episode. Heck, I was coming so close on doing an episode review on a certain rodent-based comedy show. You could probably guess which episode it is based on this deleted script. Although some of the lines are pretty outdated, such as the econ one since I got to bet in the future. But my favorite part has to be when I introduce a brand new character named Britistoríes, who I described as my useless guy counterpart, who is supposed to be my rival, friend, and love interest all into one. That was super funny, and I wish I was still reviewing that full episode, but you know how I am with the Woden franchise as a whole, and I never want to bring up anything related to that franchise ever again.
But back to Klaus, I absolutely adore this Christmas film as it honorably deserves those Academy Awards for everything it does spectacular. So on this analysis, the aspect we'll look deeper into with this movie is the unique representation of the Sámi, and with what I have to say is one of the best Christmas songs of all time. Now, I know that I can't be the only one thinking that I will make a better analysis about the Sámi representation in Klaus if I was actually Sámi or have a full understanding of their language and customs. So, as an analyst, I am kind of in a similar position as Sergio Pablos, the writer and director of Klaus himself, where I barely know that much about the Sámi people at first glance, but I am desired to have an open mind and curiosity to learn something new from this nationality. This is one of my favorite parts about doing analysis on Britistoríes 101, looking deeper into what others perceive as the surface, in order to not just gain insight, but to adapt, learn, and discover new things I never known before. So with that said, take this analysis in a perspective of someone who is not so familiar with the Sámi, so hopefully we can learn together for this one-of-a-kind Christmas analysis. When we first got introduced to Margu, she is one of the children waiting to receive a gift from Klaus, and while we are at the topic of the gifts, many of these small moments, such as when the first kid got a gift when I first saw this moment, was so majestic. I don't even think I can completely describe these full joyful feelings with powerful words. This movie is so amazing. I'll say this once again to make it clear for everybody that I am personally in the position of not understanding the language of Sámi, but similar to those type of audiences that fall into that kind of category, I feel that for people who don't know how to understand Sámi like me, even when turning the Netflix captions on which just says speaking Sámi, I found this unsubtitled Sámi concept to be extremely clever, as the audience who can't understand Sámi will learn that instead of reading through her emotion with words, we can read through her emotions with her facials and body language she delivers. So no matter what Margu and the Sámis are saying, we can still strongly detect their feelings through facials, body language, and their tone of voices, which is just the more powerful.
Precisely. Hey, you're a pretty good listener, you know?
As the iconic scene follows, Jesper takes Margu in so with the help of Alva can understand what is Margu's Christmas wish, with this beautiful transition by teaching her how to write in English rather than speaking it, which is just a subtle little detail in this scene and the story towards being inclusive and respectful towards Sámi culture and encouraging us to try to learn from them. Speaking of Sámi culture, I did watch the full behind-the-scenes videos of Sergio Pablos traveling to Norway to know more about the Sámi. As a person who has a very growth and innovative mindset, once again, why I absolutely love doing analysis on Britistoríes, I just get so absorbed in this journey of discovery to the point where I found a connection with their sleds being shaped like boats.
The sledges weren't actually sledges, they were isopropes, shaped almost like a boat.
She said she'd like a boat. Really? No, that can't be right. Scratch that.
What truly brings some magic to this moment is one of my favorite and most underrated and beautiful Christmas songs of all time. Invisible by Swedish singer Zara Larsson. Even before watching this movie, I instantly fell in love with Invisible. especially the orchestra version used for this scene in the movie. Plus, I don't know if I'm the only one who's just figuring this out right now, but this song is actually non-copyrighted. Phew! But it's not just that. The lyrics for Invisible are full of subtlety and wisdom into what I see is the secret meaning of Christmas without even having to shout out the word Christmas or any superficial thing related to it in these whimsical melodies. Instead of forcing the corny message on how the best gifts for Christmas will always be your friends and family, such as in All I Want for Christmas Is You, which... we'll get to that song later. Because similar to what my pessimistic self said at the beginning, what if you don't have any friends or family? Or worse, they're all toxic. I'm not saying that you can't see Christmas as a glorious time for friends and family, but if you look deep through the surface, you will see that Christmas is not just about the people you are with. But instead, it is about the feelings and emotions these people bring to you, such as joy, friendship, love, empathy, thoughtfulness, and the biggest one of all, kindness. As the lyrics go, you can't touch it, see it, but you can always feel it. The greatest things you'll ever know, they are invisible. Such deep and wise lyrics and song. Honestly, I wish that Invisible was the song I had to hear all the time in the radio every Christmas in replacement with that Ghost Show Mariah Carey Christmas song.
Now, please don't accuse me of hating Mariah Carey All I Want for Christmas Is You, because in reality, I don't hate the song. Heck, it really is the opposite, really, because I love that Mariah Carey Christmas song.
For the few times I heard it, until I could hear it again, and 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 again, Coming back to the Invisible scene, as always, the art style is spectacular, as Klaus decided to follow his own moral code and put his original plans of only making birdhouses aside to selflessly make more toys once again and help Jesper create Margot's gift. As they travel with their reindeers and Slade with her gift to the respectable northern Sámi side from town, we got some of the most nostalgic, magical, awe-inspiring, and beautiful nighttime journeys I ever seen in my life. I know that I have been using the word beautiful a lot to describe pretty much everything this movie has to offer, and given how I said this in the past that beautiful is such a strong word to me, trust me when I say, whenever I call someone or something beautiful, especially when it's more than once, just know that I really mean it, and it truly means a lot to me. Once Dawn approaches in the village, Jesper and Klaus catches Margot's reaction with her parents into receiving what I like to call a handcrafted sailboat sled, which was just her Christmas wish. After setting up the sled for her, we got the most iconic, uplifting, and heartwarming moments in Klaus ever, without a single English or Sámi word being said, since actions speak louder than words. So as, once again, one of the greatest Christmas songs of all time, Invisible, plays, we are absorbed in the emotions of joy, kindness, and happiness by just a fun, simple sleigh ride by a little Sámi girl.
And that'll be all for this part of the Christmas analysis. And so, to elaborate on the following concepts on combining both the Sámi representation and the song Invisible, where
we gain the ability to learn how much of an effect a person or community can have on you, along with conversations being shared between two groups or people who speak different kinds of languages. To read off the key qualities from this article I found, qualities such as visual colors, positivity, warmth, and kindness are presented as universal, along with nonverbal forms of communication. Now, to connect with the idea of how powerful nonverbal communication can be, one of my dream careers I've chosen for my English class is an art therapist, who is a type of therapist and mental health profession who uses all kinds of creative forms such as the arts to help their clients explore self-expressions and emotion while analyzing, see what I did there, on the sequence of how the clients express themselves artistically and psychologically to understand their feelings, helping the art therapist to come up with a firm solution. In one of my projects, I done a Zoom interview with my aunt on listing 10 questions about her job as a therapist while summarizing her responses. My favorite response, and yes, I know this said it was the first question, but ironically, I actually asked this question last, is when I said, "Do you see art as a special form of communication?" Though what my aunt told me in the interview has more power to it than what I paraphrase here. To sum it up, she taught me that in both the arts and outside the arts, such as body language and a variety of nonverbal communications, are a stronger form of communication. This is why, for Christmas, I gave my aunt a painter's palette as a symbolism to how something as simple as art can have the true powers of open expressions and emphasizing feelings.
to add a bonus, I learned this special trick between drawing the same exact scenery out of a deserted beach in art foundation, one with warm color palettes and the other one with cool color palettes. Notice how, despite these two being drawn the same, the warm color palette's drawing looks more active and energized, while the cool color palette drawing looks more calm and soothing. All of this encouraged me to incorporate an arty side towards my little own Morgie character, Cuvia, as my main protagonist Dominique will teach her the arts in the North Pole Village, mixing in of my research for ancient Inuit arts as a symbolism of nonverbal communication.
For my original story, The North Pole Village, all thanks for this beautiful, wonderful film we call Klaus.
Beautiful, wonderful thing.
So once a year, I get to see my friend.
So finally, we are entirely done with Klaus. So now it is time to move on to the shorter and final part of this Christmas analysis, the Little Match Goal.
The Little Match Girl is a dark Danish fairy tale written by Hans Christian Andersen about a poor but imaginative child's dying wish as she is driven out of her own house by her cruel father, trying to make a single cent selling matches in the chivalry torturous cold on the Christmas to New Year season, with its memorable bittersweet ending. A really intriguing fact I recently found out is that the original title for the Little Match Girl is Denne Pigmen Solsikinen, which translates to The Little Girl with the Brimstones. An interesting choice for an original title, given that brimstone, meaning the stone that burns, symbolizes God's wrath and anger and divine judgment. In this story, the little girl was surrounded by hate, carelessness, and judgment by her own father and the citizens while carrying around a negative stone that seems to symbolize God's wrath. But once she decided to light the brimstone on fire into its end in nothing but empty ashes, it caused her to get 4 happy heavenly visions. The first vision is of a great iron stove with burning fire, symbolizing warmth and a safe shelter throughout the bitter cold. The second vision is of a well-roasted goose on a dinner table to symbolize her desire for food while on the bridge of starvation. The third vision is of a beautifully lit Christmas tree with children and family circling around it, which represents togetherness and her desire to have a loving family to celebrate Christmas with. Lastly, the final vision is of her lovely grandmother, the only person who loved and cared for her, as an angel who will take her away to the heavens once she burned all of the brimstone that symbolizes God's wrath to the underworld into empty ash, as she was able to be free and fly with her loving grandmother up to the heavens. As to quote from the story, they both flew upwards in brightness and joy, far above the earth, where there was neither cold nor hunger, nor pain, for they were with God.
To quote from a wise, kind, empathetic, emotionally intelligent, and beautiful soul who, even today, I wish was still my friend. Sometimes we go through hardships. We come out being more special. Never forget. So, similar to
my unpopular taste in Christmas music, I have this thing that whenever people see, let's say, a Christmas carol for the holiday seasons, all I can see is the little match girl. I even made my own adaptation of the Little Match Girl back on my old channel 2 years ago. I call the Slavery Edition, where I will place her cool father with a slave owner. Many of the citizens, including him, make racist remarks towards her, and of course, I race swapped the Little Match Girl to be black instead of white, which reminds me of another Hans Christian Andersen adaptation that starts with The Little. Yes, we all heard about the race swapping of The Little Mermaid. Some people love Disney adding diversity with a very talented singer, and other people believe that it is unnecessary to race swap Ariel and believe they are only doing this to attract woke audiences and to use the excuse that if they don't like this live action adaptation, that means they're racist.
while I prefer not to be a part of this bandwagon we call modern Disney. So if you want to hear someone's take on the new Little Mermaid, I recommend you go on the internet and see what other people's views, since trust me when I say it's basically everywhere. But I will say this.
The race swapping for the Little Match Girl I done made more sense in context with this change of setting, as it being focused on slavery and racism. Along with that, I rated my adaptation PG-13 for mature themes and offensive language, such as the N-word, which I get a pass for given that I'm black. And the last thing I want to mention is the amazing voice acting and editing of the Fade in Memory, and how I was able to sound like a young little girl despite being 15 years old at the time. I looked up at the sky and magically saw a star appear. My grandmother once told me how the stars in the sky represents angels in heaven and the afterlife. I just want to give up, but my grandmother needs this medicine, and I hate to continue making her sick. Your fault we cannot afford her medicine, so she can continue doing chores for us, and will not have to rely on you slow piece of... I still remember the breathing in and out. Before every vision was a really nice touch to the story. I strike the match, and once it is lit up, I held it close to me, breathing in and out. Shivering, I grabbed the second match out of the basket to get warm again. I struck the match so it lit up and held it close to me once again. Breathing in and out. Thus, I grabbed the third match out of the basket, struck it so it lit up, held it close to me again, breathing in and out. I decided to grab one more match out of the basket. I struck the match, and once it lit up, I held it close to me. Breathing in and out.
And even though the message I was trying to shout out to my audience was a bit corny, I absolutely love the bittersweet ending even more with this one, as the little magical give us a wise insight while looking down on us today at the heavens, on how even if some form of racism are present till this day, we are slowly making this world into a better place for everyone.
She smiles and wrapped her arms around me. Jesus and the angels will heal you, trust me. In the future, yes, racism still goes around, but one by one, time over time, they are going to make it a better place for all of us. I cried some more and held her tight. Together we glow and flew towards the midnight stars, moon, and clouds. As a new star appeared up in the sky, my soul and spirit is now in a better place. Frozen to death, but still looking down today, my grandmother was right. This world has been a much greater place for everyone.
So finally, we are done with this Christmas analysis, and I really do apologize for always having, I don't know if I should consider this a running gag, that I never know how to script my outros, so my outros are usually outscripted. It's just a running gag. I just realized in these type of videos that I never really scripted my outro, so this is totally unscripted once again. But even though right now it's January, I hope you guys all have a Merry Christmas, since, it depends on which time you're watching this, so who knows, maybe you guys might be watching this on Christmas in 2023, so I can wish you all a Merry Christmas on all of those future years. So, on Britistoríes, I will wish you all, once December 2023 rolls in, a Merry Christmas, a Happy New Year's, Happy Hanukkah, Happy Kwanzaa, all those holidays. Happy holidays. From Britistoríes to you. Goodbye.